Hey guys, Brian Stevens over here. I got Carl White, needs no introduction. He's the marketing animal himself. I invited Carl onto a little video here because I want to see what his reaction or his response is going to be to some of the questions or some of the stats that I'm going to lob over his way. A lot of these kind of had me scratching my head a little bit, and then as I was processing it, I started to see a pattern, but it didn't really reveal itself to me immediately. I wanted to run some stuff by Carl and see what you have to say. Carl has, by the way, no idea what I'm going to tell him, and he has no idea then how he's going to respond to it. So you ready, Carl?
Man, I feel like I'm playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or something. So go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's the first stat that I want to throw your way. Last year, 39% of all sales went to baby boomers. Are you surprised at that number or not?
I'm so baby boomers, which is my generation, 39%. I would have thought higher.
Really?
Yeah.
Explain that.
Well, we have money. You know, I mean, just to, you know, we've been on the earth for a while. We have money. But I get it, and our kids have grown up, so now we're either moving to by the beach, which we've always wanted to live by the beach. We don't have to worry about schools anymore, right? So we're moving into a bigger house, smaller house with a pool, without a pool, like just changes something to improve our life, and we've got money, and so I would have thought bigger.
That's interesting. I came down on the other side of it. I figured it with the baby boomer, your generation is kind of, they're settled where they're at right now, and the whole idea of uprooting would not be attractive. It does start to make sense when you consider the ones who own their houses and the ones who have the equity and who can afford properties in this market are going to be baby boomers. It makes perfect sense.
You have to understand that, but the other thing is, people that have money, like the last 2 times I moved, we literally hired a company that me and the lovely Mrs. White, we literally packed a luggage. We went off on vacation for a week, came back from the cruise. We were in the new house. So somebody else, because we have money, like it was no headache moving because somebody else did it. Took me a while to find my sock drawer, you know, per se, but because we have money, it's when you have money, it's easy to move.
Okay, so the number was 29% the year prior. That's when houses were cheaper and rates were lower. And of course, with rates going higher and property values getting more expensive, those with equity are kings of the jungle. So that goes up to 39 from 29%.
So it's higher. So it's higher this year than last year.
Yeah, it is. And I think as we start to see affordability become more difficult for younger generations who simply aren't sitting on the equity or have the money that you're talking about, we're going to see the percentage of baby boomers possibly increasing unless we see something changed.
I could see that.
Okay, here's one. Gen Zers now make up 4% of home buyers this last year. Surprised at that number? Too high or too low?
And what age is Gen Z?
18 to 23.
I'm surprised it's that high. How many 23-year-olds do you know own a home?
Not many. And really, I think this plays to when your tech areas, Austin, Charlotte, San Francisco, San Jose, Seattle, areas where you have a lot of high tech. You're going to get a lot of contractors out there with these big signing bonuses. And I think that's where you're going to see your 3 to 4%, because it's that generation who's really writing the code for all the technology that we're going to be using for decades to come. That would be
Let me ask you this. Is the 39% baby boomer the biggest piece of the pie, or is there another pie bigger than that?
No, the baby boomers are the biggest piece of the pie.
So I can tell you, for me, and not hearing the other numbers now, why would I do anything other than the biggest piece of the pie? So you go, all right, so let's say you're in Charlotte or anywhere, in any town, or any county in the nation, 39% of all loans, all purchase loans in almost any county, anywhere, I would suppose. I'm sure there's some very rural areas of, say, Nevada out in the desert, right, where there's some low population. But you know, 90% of us live in a county that if we closed 39% of the loans in our county, that would be really good. And so for me, I would focus on that even if I was, as a loan officer, if I'm 23, my age has nothing to do with who I work with. Why go after anything other than the 39%? Because let me tell you something, the methods that I go after the baby boomers is going to be different than the methods I go for from the Gen Zers.
Yep.
And so before I start on way number 2, I'm going to nail down way number 1 and really own that in my particular market. So why do anything other than the 39%? Now, you know, and some would say, yeah, but I have a place in my heart to help those less fortunate, might be struggling a little bit, right? And they're right on that cusp of being able to afford a home and not. That's a whole different story, right? We always help those people, of course. Right. But for me, my primary business, which for me it is we help all age groups, but my focus is the 39%. My marketing techniques focuses on the 39%.
And you're right. You know, with a loss of cabin pressure, put your mask on before you put your kid's mask on. Take that same approach to your business. This kind of the reason I wanted to have this conversation with you is we went down this road a couple of months ago and we found that, well, only 4% of people who speak with a loan officer got that information from social media, which we're
Actually, it was 3%. It was 3%.
3%. It was a shockingly low number until you started kind of thinking about how people digest information. I came to the same conclusions that you came to. It took me a few minutes to process it. And I started thinking, well, how does a loan officer or real estate agent, how do they spend their marketing money, their marketing time, energy, resources? Where is that being directed towards? So much of it is social media. So much of it is, on the web, which I understand. So much of it is creating automation to automate the loan officer or realtor out of the equation. If that type of marketing is going to appeal, but just a fraction of folks who are currently buying houses right now. Because I can tell you, Carl, my mom's generation doesn't care what's going on with social media at all whatsoever. It just does not appeal to them. It's a belly to belly business when it comes to baby boomers. So if you're going to go after the most lucrative component of the housing market from a loan officer standpoint, it would have to be baby boomers. And then you would have to adjust your marketing to appeal to baby boomers. And it's probably not aligned with a lot of people and a lot of companies are doing right now. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And, we're seeing a very interesting thing that I've never seen before in my 25 years I've been in the business now. I'm seeing something very unique, and it's where, and we might have discussed this on the last time we did this, but it's where the veterans, the people who've been around the block like me and you a few times, a lot of those people are struggling, while the new loan officers that's just been in the business for a year, maybe two, and some just barely a year, are just knocking out of the park. Like I'm thinking friend Sarah Cox, she was in the support role, but she just became a producing loan officer in October, and I think she's closing 8 loans or 12 loans.
That's awesome.
Since October, right? And so I think we really need to focus on, I'm calling it becoming brilliant at the basics. Like the people that are really, really, really doing real well right now, they're just kind of getting back to the basics. And some of this fun and sexy stuff, it's almost like the emperor has no clothes. Like nobody's actually coming out and saying, hey, come to find out, we're not actually getting leads or leads at close, from this strategy. Yeah, and let me tell you something else. This might not have to do with anything, but it might. So the real estate agent that I use, so we buy investment properties. The real estate agent I use is 27 years old, right? So she's relatively, she's younger than my kids are.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I use her is she's very, very knowledgeable, and she talks to me like I want to be talked to. In other words, she's a belly to belly type person, and she's not sending me, Instagram videos. Nothing wrong with that stuff, right? Nothing wrong with that. But she just talks. She calls me up. She texts me. She speaks to me. I'm not on a drip campaign. And maybe to her 27-year-old friends, maybe she does both parts. But I think there's a lot to be said. And you said a few minutes ago, it's all about being belly to belly. So anyway, I don't know if that's the direction that you were looking to go here, but I
didn't have a direction I wanted to go. I wanted to see what your what conclusions you were going to draw from this information. And it's kind of what I thought it was going to be based on our previous conversations here.
Just become brilliant at the basics. Just become brilliant at the basics. That's just the bottom line. And I think, we all feel like, well, I need to be doing the newest cutting edge thing. It kind of goes, into all these new strategies that we all take a look at. I mean, when the rubber meets the road, you go, well, how'd you bring in your last 10 clients? You want to know how to close more loans? Look at your last 10 closings, whether that was last week, last month, or last year. What's the average? How did you bring those in? And whatever that was, just do more of that. Just do more of that. Like whatever that was, do more of that. And if it was social media, awesome. It's working for you. Do more of that. For most of us, it's going to be the belly to belly, the phone calls, the meetings, just becoming brilliant at the basics. But very interesting. So the old baby boomers are still buying houses, come to find out. See, you were putting us out to pasture, you young whippersnappers, putting us out to pasture, and come to find out, we actually buy stuff. So very interesting.
Hey, listen, before you call us young, I get the same price at Denny's you get at Denny's right now too. So let's
yeah. I turned down the seniors. They asked me if I want a senior citizen menu. No, thank you.
Let's pump the brakes there. I get it. And it does, but it does make sense where we should be spending our time and our energy right now towards the most lucrative component of the market. And just more to that, and I don't have anything to back this up. I don't have any additional statistics, but homes with mortgages right now account for 63% of all properties in the United States. Are you surprised? Is that higher or lower than what you expected?
That's lower than I would expect.
Yeah.
So 63%. So wow, that's impressive. So 37% own their house free and clear. I would have never guessed that number.
And again, I don't have a stat to back this up, but I'd be willing to bet you donuts to dollars that 37% who owns their house free and clear are going to by and large be our baby boomers.
For sure.
And what we now know, Carl, is that those baby boomers are still looking to get into the house of their dreams. It could be a different house of their dreams than it was 10, 20 years ago. Maybe it's one that is more accessible. Maybe it's going from a two-story to a one-story. Like you said, perhaps it's on the beach, the house they always wanted, something to that effect. But I'm surprised that when we're looking at boomers, that they're as upwardly mobile as they are right now. We've always known they've had the equity, but now that we know that, what would be a great strategy for a loan officer or a real estate agent or a tandem to start looking at going after some of these folks? If we know there's interest in buying houses, and frankly, they're the only generation that can do it right now.
So for me, the easiest way is I always look at real estate agents as my free army of salespeople that work for me. So I hear some people say, well, I don't want to chase realtors. I want to beg for business and I don't want to rely on somebody else. They're free and they're an army of salespeople out there and they got the sugar and the honey that attracts the customers, which is the houses, the listings, right? That's what attracts people. And so for me, it's all about going after the real estate agents that are targeting that market and market to those, and make sure that like when you're going after relationship with a referral partner, make sure it's somebody that does it like on a full-time basis. And they've got, like, for my rule of thumb is about 8 buyer sides in the last 12 months that we looked to form relationships with them. And then, but again, it's not a free lunch. I say it's free. It's not a free lunch because the real estate agents, I mean, they're primarily looking for 3 things. They want us to close on time. They want great communication during the loan process. And they want us to follow up on these leads that they spend a lot of money and time on. They want us to follow up on them like green on a pickle. You do those 3 things, they're happy. Yeah, they get the leads because they got the listings. And so for me, just going after the real estate agents that have the customer, it's just a symbiotic relationship is all it is. The agents get something from us, which is a closing, and we get something them, which they got the listings. Not that we can't get our own leads through some of our sources, but the easiest way, people call a real estate agent when they look for houses first, nine times out of 10. So leverage that.
I think so. And there's really no relief on the horizons with the new home builders, building homes in droves to drive prices down. So property values where they're at right now are probably going to be stuck there for quite some time to come. So if we're going to pivot to navigate the turbulent waters as everything changes in mortgages and real estate, look to our geriatric generations for your salvation, my friends, because that's where it's at right now. Nearly 40% of all loans that closed this past year were to baby boomers. My goodness. I better dust off my Helen Reddy records.
I was just listening to her last night, actually.
I love that. Hey, listen, Carl, loan officers watching this right now, where can they reach out to you at?
Probably the easiest way is loanofficerbreakfastclub.com, loanofficerbreakfastclub.com. And thanks for letting me put a shameless plug out there. So appreciate you, Brian. Appreciate everything you do, my man.
Thanks so much. Let's do it again. Talk to you soon. Bye.